Audiobook Video Introduction, Magic of Manifest, by Gabriella, narrated by Vanessa Morgan. Welcome to Magic of Manifest. In this fascinating audiobook, Gabriella, also known as Gabriella Gripcyberf Criminal, takes you on a transformative journey into the world of manifestation and self-actualization. With her unique perspective and profound insights, she will show you how to use the laws of the universe to realize your dreams and create a life full of abundance and happiness. This channel is about connecting science, spirituality, physics, metaphysics, and everything that exists to develop a full understanding of why we are all parts of a perfect consciousness. Gabriella sheds light on the connections between these disciplines and shows how they influence and enrich each other. Magic of Manifest offers you practical techniques to clearly define and focus your intentions, inspiring stories and examples that illustrate the power of manifestation, useful tools and exercises to transform your energy and actively shape your reality. To deepen the full understanding, we also invite you to explore our other videos, including topics like Stardust and Why God Keeps Incarnating. These additional perspectives help you see the deeper meaning and the secret connections between the visible and the invisible. I'm Vanessa, and I'm honored to bring Gabriella's words to life for you. Let's dive into this magical world together and learn how to get the most out of your life. Prepare to change your perspective and discover the power within you that is ready to turn your desires into reality. Get ready for a journey full of inspiration, insights, and divine magic. Let's begin. Science, spirituality, and the connection of dimensions. On this channel, we combine science, spirituality, physics, chemistry, biology, and astrophysics to develop a more specific understanding of the phenomena that surround us. Our goal is to explain complex topics in such a way that they do not seem like hocus pocus, but are based on solid scientific and spiritual foundations. We shed light on the connections between these disciplines in order to provide a more comprehensive picture of reality. Often, parapsychological phenomena or spiritual experiences are labeled as the paranormal and dismissed. However, through the lens of metaphysics, we would like to explain how these experiences are actually in line with scientific knowledge and how they are influenced by physical and biological chemical processes. A central aspect of our considerations is the idea that all dimensions that exist on Earth are interwoven. We discuss how God and spiritual beings are present in various forms and incarnations throughout the history of mankind. This concept is often considered difficult to understand, but we intend to make it understandable and clearly explain the connections between spirituality and science. To understand the full message and context, it's important to watch our videos in order. In this way, the process from the dimensional explanation to the incorporation of the divine becomes comprehensible. I will go deeper into these topics in future videos to integrate both scientific and spiritual perspectives and to expand awareness of the fascinating connections in the universe. Stay tuned as we embark on a journey together to unlock the mysteries of life and build a bridge between science and spirituality. Chapter 1. Introduction to the connection between science and spirituality. Objective of the channel. In this chapter, we present the central goals of the channel to explore and explain the connection between science and spirituality. We show how both disciplines can work together in the search for knowledge and understanding about life, the universe, and our role in it. The intention is to create a platform that is both science-based and spiritually inspiring. The need for integration. Here we discuss the challenges associated with the separation of science and spirituality. Many people feel a gap between these two worlds, leading to misunderstandings and a reduced perception of reality. This chapter will show that an integrated view is not only possible, but also necessary to understand the complex phenomena of life. Scientific basis. We give a brief overview of the most important scientific disciplines: physics, chemistry, biology, and astrophysics. These disciplines form the basis for the further chapters and the understanding of the phenomena we will investigate. The goal is to familiarize readers with the basic concepts that are important for subsequent discussions. Spirituality as an extension of knowledge. In this section, we look at how spirituality can be viewed as a form of knowledge and experience. Spirituality is not just an esoteric practice, but a deeper search for meaning shaped by personal experiences, intuition, and insights. We explain how these experiences can be scientifically supported and vice versa. Target group and interaction. We introduce the channel's target audience and encourage viewers to actively participate in the discussion. Feedback, questions, and personal experiences from viewers are important to create a community and deepen topics. We present the platforms where viewers can share their thoughts and questions. Outlook on the coming chapters. To conclude the chapter, we give an outlook on the topics that will be dealt with in the coming chapters. We outline how we build the bridge between the scientific disciplines and the spiritual concepts and what concrete examples and insights the audience can expect. Chapter 2: The Basics of Physical Reality. Introduction to Physics. In this section, we explain the basic principles of physics, which deal with the fundamental aspects of matter and energy. We discuss the main areas of physics, including mechanics, thermodynamics, electromagnetism, and quantum mechanics. These concepts form the foundation for our understanding of the physical world. The laws of physics. We give an overview of the most important physical laws that define our everyday life and the laws of nature, such as Newton's law, the law of conservation of energy, and Einstein's theory of relativity. These laws are not only theoretical in nature, but have practical applications and influence our daily lives. Matter and energy. In this section, we explain the relationship between matter and energy, in particular Albert Einstein's famous equivalence principle, E equals mc squared. We discuss some of the current scientific views on matter, such as what atoms and subatomic particles are, and how energy is present in different forms, from kinetic to potential energy. Space and time. Here we explore the concepts of space and time as frameworks of our physical reality. We explain how the theory of relativity has revolutionized our idea of space and time, and show how these concepts are interpreted in metaphysics to create a deeper connection between science and spirituality. The Standard Model of Particle Physics. An overview of the Standard Model of Particle Physics, which describes the smallest known constituents of matter and their interactions. We explain the role of quarks, electrons, and neutrinos and discuss how these particles are the fundamental building blocks of all matter in the universe. The study of these particles can also evoke spiritual analogies. Quantum mechanics and its implications. Here we go into the fascinating and often counterintuitive concepts of quantum mechanics, such as wave-particle dualism, the uncertainty principle, and the phenomenon of entanglement. We discuss the importance of these concepts to our understanding of reality and its potential to support spiritual ideas about connectedness and unity in diversity. The science of perception. We investigate the role of human perception in physics and reality. How our senses and consciousness influence the way we experience the physical world. This is also about the subjective nature of our reality and how consciousness is viewed in scientific and spiritual contexts. Connection to spirituality and metaphysics. The connection between the laws of physics and spirituality is discussed in detail in this section. We discuss how scientific discoveries influence spiritual practices and beliefs, and how certain spiritual concepts can be reconciled with the principles of physics. Case studies and applications. Here we present specific case studies or examples that show how scientific principles can be applied in spiritual contexts. This could include the application of physical laws in meditation practices or other spiritual techniques that promote both mental and physical transformations. Summary and outlook. Finally, we summarize the key findings of the chapter and prepare readers for the next chapter, in which we will dedicate ourselves to chemistry and its role in life. We emphasize the importance of understanding the fundamentals of physical reality in order to grasp the more complex connections between science and spirituality. Chapter 3: Chemistry and Life. Introduction to Chemistry. In this section, we provide an overview of chemistry as the science of matter and its changes. We explain how chemical reactions form the basis for many processes in nature and in the human body. Chemistry plays a crucial role in the formation of molecules and compounds that are essential for life. Atoms and their structures. Here we explain the basic building blocks of matter, atoms. We explain the structure of an atom, nucleus, and electron shell, the different elements and their chemical properties. We place a special focus on the elements that are essential for life, such as carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. Chemical bonds and molecules. We discuss the different types of chemical bonds, including ionic, covalent, and metallic bonds. We also explain how molecules are made up of atoms and how they react to form new substances. Examples of vital molecules such as DNA, proteins, and ATP are presented to emphasize the relevance of chemistry for life. Biochemistry, the chemistry of life. In this section, we relate chemistry to biology by examining the field of biochemistry. We explain how biochemical processes such as metabolism, photosynthesis, and cellular respiration make life possible. These processes are essential not only for the survival of organisms, but also for the understanding of health and disease. Chemistry and the origin of life. Here we discuss the chemical processes that led to the emergence of life on Earth. We consider hypotheses about the abiogenic synthesis of organic molecules in the primordial soup and the role of meteorites and hydrothermal vents in creating the necessary conditions for the first biological activity. The role of chemistry in the environment. We discuss how chemical reactions affect the environment. Topics such as the carbon cycle, the role of chemicals in air and water quality, and the effects of human activities on chemical processes in nature are covered. Here, the connection between chemical changes and the ecological and spiritual aspects of our lives is shown. Chemistry and human emotions. In this section, we explore the chemical basis of emotions and behavior. We explain how neurotransmitters such as dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin influence our emotional experience and the importance of these chemical compounds for our mental and spiritual well-being. Spirituality in chemistry. Here we shed light on how chemical processes and experiments can also lead to spiritual insights. We explore how understanding chemical reactions and the composition of life can lead us to a deeper understanding of our own existence and our connection to nature. Case studies and applications. In this section, we present specific case studies that show how chemical principles are applied in practice, both in research and in everyday life. Examples may include drug development, innovative environmental engineering, or natural remedies that use chemical reactions and processes. Summary and outlook. Finally, we summarize the main points of the chapter and prepare readers for the next chapter, which deals with biology and consciousness. We emphasize the central role of chemistry in life and its potential to enrich spiritual perspectives. Chapter 4. Biology and Consciousness. Introduction to Biology. In this section, we provide an overview of biology as the science of life. We look at the various disciplines of biology, including cell biology, genetics, evolution, and ecology. Biology is crucial to our understanding of how living things are structured, evolve, and interact with each other. Cell biology, the building blocks of life. Here we explain the cell structure and functions. We explain the differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells and the role of organelles such as the nucleus, mitochondria, and chloroplasts. A deeper knowledge of cells is crucial to understanding the basics of life. Genetics and trait inheritance. We discuss the basics of genetics, including DNA, genes, and chromosomes. The focus is on the importance of genes for the development and behavior of organisms. We also explain how genetic variations contribute to natural selection and evolution, and the role they play in the spiritual perspective of human identity. Evolution, the origin of species. In this section, we examine the theory of evolution and the mechanisms of natural selection. We explain how speciation happens and how living organisms adapt to their environment. This view is often linked to spiritual considerations about the connection of all life forms on Earth. Biological rhythms and the nature of life. Here we look at biological rhythms, such as the circadian rhythm, which controls biological processes in a 24-hour cycle. We discuss how these rhythms influence behavior, health, and consciousness. This opens the dialogue on the harmonization of human life with nature. The human brain, the source of consciousness. We explore the structure and function of the human brain and its role in consciousness. We explain the functioning of nerve cells and the processes that enable us to think, feel, and perceive. This knowledge is important for understanding the nature of consciousness and exploring its connection to spirituality. Emotions and their influence on behavior. Here we analyze the biological basis of emotions and their effects on behavior. We look at the role of neurotransmitters, hormones, and the amygdala and how emotions can influence our perception and spiritual experiences. Consciousness and spirituality. We discuss various theories about consciousness and its relationship to spirituality. In doing so, we look at philosophical approaches as well as scientific theories. We show how expanded consciousness can lead to spiritual insights and personal transformations. Case studies, biology, and spiritual practices. In this section, we present case studies that combine biological knowledge with spiritual practices. We look at how meditation methods or mindfulness practices can affect not only the brain but also physical well-being. Summary and outlook. At the end of the chapter, we summarize the key points and prepare readers for the next chapter, where we will explore astrophysics and the connection between the universe and life. We emphasize the importance of biology for the understanding of consciousness and spiritual development. Chapter 5. Astrophysics and the Universe. Introduction to Astrophysics. In this section, we provide an overview of astrophysics as a science that deals with the physical properties and behavior of the universe as well as its constituent parts. Astrophysics combines concepts from physics and astronomy to understand the structure, dynamics, and evolution of celestial bodies and galaxies. The foundations of the universe. Here we discuss the fundamental concepts of the universe, including space, time, and matter. We explain the different types of celestial bodies, such as stars, planets, moons, and galaxies, as well as their distribution in the universe and the most significant discoveries of modern astronomy. The origin of the universe, the Big Bang. We investigate the Big Bang theory, which is considered the most widely accepted model for explaining the origin of the universe. In this section, we explain the events immediately after the Big Bang, the formation of elements, and the evolution of the first stars and galaxies. The explanation of this cosmic story provides a fascinating background for understanding our own existence. The structure of the universe. Here we dedicate ourselves to the large-scale structure of the universe, the distribution of galaxy clusters, supermassive black holes, and dark matter. We explain how these structures influence the dynamics of the universe and what questions researchers have about their nature and composition. Light and electromagnetic radiation. In this section, we explore the role of light in astrophysics. We explain how electromagnetic radiation, including visible light, infrared, and X-rays, is used to obtain information about the celestial bodies. In doing so, we show how scientific discoveries in astrophysics expand our understanding of energy and matter. Black holes and their mysticism. Here we explain what black holes are, how they are formed, and what properties they have. We consider the philosophical and spiritual implications of black holes, especially in relation to time, space, and the limits of knowledge. These deep mysteries can also be interpreted as metaphors for interpersonal challenges. Earth's role in the universe. We discuss how the Earth is positioned in the vast expanse of the universe and what special conditions have made life possible there. This chapter sheds light on the question of attentive living in the context of the universe and astronomy, which stimulates spiritual reflection on our role in this greater whole. The search for extraterrestrial life. In this section, we look at the scientific effort to discover extraterrestrial life and the challenges involved. We discuss the importance of exoplanet research and the different approaches to searching for signs of life outside Earth. These reflections lead to deep questions about consciousness and spirituality in the cosmos. Case studies, astronomy and spirituality. We present case studies that show the connection between astronomical discoveries and spiritual insights. Examples include sources of inspiration for astronomers whose discoveries have raised deeper questions about human existence and the universe. Summary and outlook. At the end of the chapter, we summarize the central points about astrophysics and the universe. In doing so, we prepare readers for the next chapter, which deals with the paranormal and its scientific explanations. We emphasize how the findings of astrophysics expand our picture of the world and the place of humans in it. Chapter 6: Understanding the Paranormal. Introduction to the Paranormal. In this section, we define what is meant by paranormal phenomena, including ghostly apparitions, telepathy, clairvoyance, near-death experiences, and other unexplained experiences. We shed light on the common perception of the paranormal and the skepticism that often accompanies it. Scientific approaches to the paranormal. Here we discuss various scientific theories and approaches that try to explain paranormal phenomena. We look at critical perspectives, experimental approaches, and their results, which aim to create understanding even in the less explored areas of science. Parapsychology, a science in the twilight. In this section, we examine parapsychology as a special field of research that deals with phenomena such as telepathy, psychokinesis, and extrasensory perceptions, ESP. We discuss the methods used by parapsychologists to study such phenomena and the challenges they face. Near-death experiences and consciousness. Here we examine near-death experiences, NDEs, and the subjective accounts of people who have had such experiences. We analyze the possible scientific explanations, e.g., neurological processes, and also consider the spiritual and philosophical questions that arise from these experiences. What do these experiences say about the nature of consciousness? The role of the subconscious mind. This section discusses how the subconscious mind affects the left and right hemispheres of the brain and plays its role in the perception of paranormal phenomena. We investigate how psychological factors, intuition, and emotional states can lead people to have experiences perceived as paranormal. The paranormal in different cultures. We look at the cultural differences in the perception and understanding of the paranormal. Different cultures have different explanations and interpretations of paranormal phenomena, which can provide interesting insights into the human psyche and spirituality. The science behind haunted phenomena. Here we examine common explanations for ghostly apparitions and haunted phenomena. We shed light on scientific theories such as infrasound, electromagnetic fields, and psychological aspects, which often lead to the experiences of a haunted environment. Borderline scientific perspectives. We discuss the role of frontier science or threshold sciences in the study of the paranormal and how these areas are often linked to spiritual beliefs. It is important to critically question which areas of life are affected by these phenomena. Case studies, paranormal experiences. In this section, we present specific case studies of paranormal experiences that promote a scientific approach to explanation. These sources can include both individual accounts and collectively documented events that have been studied by researchers.
Summary and outlook.
At the end of the chapter, we summarize the central points of the paranormal and show how these topics can be continued in the context of the following chapters, which deal with metaphysics and the connection between science and spirituality. We emphasize the importance of openly exploring the paranormal in order to expand our understanding of reality and consciousness. Chapter 7: Metaphysics and the Nature of Reality. Introduction to Metaphysics. In this section, we define the term metaphysics and explain its meaning as a branch of philosophy that deals with the most fundamental questions of existence, reality, and the nature of being. We show how metaphysics tries to understand what goes beyond the physical and empirically comprehensible world. The fundamental questions of metaphysics. We discuss central questions that metaphysics raises, such as, what is reality? What is the nature of time and space? What is the self or consciousness? These fundamental questions form the basis for many philosophical and scientific debates and have important implications for our understanding of the world. Ontology, the study of being. In this section, we dedicate ourselves to ontology, a central branch of metaphysics that explores the nature and structure of being. We examine various ontological positions that explain the relationship between matter, spirit, and the existence of things in the world. The metaphysical dimension of time. Here we analyze the metaphysical perspective on the concept of time. We examine various models of time, including time as an absolute quantity in the Newtonian sense and Einstein's theory of relativity, as well as the philosophical debates about the nature of time, whether it is linear or cyclical. Space and reality. In this section, we will discuss the metaphysical conception of space. We discuss how different philosophies define space and what role it plays in the perception of reality. We also draw connections to quantum physics and astrophysics to study the influence of space on reality. The relationship between spirit and matter. In this science, we discuss the dualistic versus monistic approaches in metaphysics to spirit and matter. We discuss how philosophers such as Descartes, Spinoza, and modern thinkers interpret the relationship between physical reality and mental states and what implications this has for our understanding of consciousness and spirituality.
Logic and metaphysics.
We shed light on the role of logic in metaphysics and how logical principles can be applied to metaphysical questions. We analyze the challenges and contradictions that can arise in metaphysical reasoning and how different philosophical schools address these problems. Metaphysics and science. In this section, we explore the relationship between metaphysics and science. We look at how metaphysical assumptions influence scientific research and vice versa, and how some metaphysical concepts may be tested or challenged by scientific findings. Case studies, metaphysics in the modern world. Here we present specific case studies that show how metaphysical ideas are applied in the modern world, for example in artificial intelligence, quantum mechanics, or spiritual movements. These examples illustrate how metaphysical considerations continue to be relevant and interact with scientific developments.
Summary and outlook.
At the end of this chapter, we summarize the most important points about metaphysics and its relationship to reality. We prepare readers for the next chapter, which deals with the concept of dimensions and their importance in our understanding of reality. We emphasize how exploring metaphysical questions can deepen our understanding of science, spirituality, and the human condition. Chapter 8: Dimensions and the Structure of Reality. Introduction to the concept of dimensions. In this section, we define what dimensions are and explain their importance in science and philosophy. Dimensions are essential aspects of reality that shape our understanding of space, time, and physical phenomena. The first three dimensions: length, width, and height. Here we explain the basic dimensions we experience in our everyday lives: length, width, and height. We explain how these dimensions provide a physical structure for objects and how our visual system interprets them to comprehend the world around us. Time is the fourth dimension. We treat the concept of time as a fourth dimension that is related to the spatial dimensions. We investigate how time is considered an integral part of spacetime in Einstein's theory of relativity and how the effects of this view have on our understanding of motion and change. Higher dimensions in physics. In this section, we discuss the concept of additional dimensions that go beyond the classic four dimensions. We cover fundamental theories such as string theory and M-theory, which claim that the universe could have more than the known four dimensions. We explain how these higher dimensions can expand the understanding of particles, forces, and the structure of the universe.
Dimensions and consciousness.
Here we explore how the concept of dimensions is connected to human consciousness and perception of reality. We discuss whether and how a higher consciousness can possibly perceive or interact into other dimensions and what spiritual implications this might have. The philosophical and metaphysical implications of higher dimensions. In this section, we analyze the philosophical implications of the notion of higher dimensions. We look at how different thinkers have interpreted the existence of additional dimensions and what questions they raise about the nature of reality and human existence. Practical applications of understanding dimensions. We show how the knowledge of dimensions is applied in science and technology, for example in medicine, e.g. in the use of 3D images, in computer science, e.g. in digital modeling, and in space travel. This makes it clear that the understanding of dimensions has far-reaching practical significance. Dimensional perception and spiritual practices. We consider the application of the understanding of dimensions in spiritual practices and philosophies. Many traditions speak of higher levels of consciousness or dimensions that go beyond the physical world. It examines how people seek access to these higher dimensions and what techniques they use. Case studies, dimensions in culture and philosophy. In this section, we present case studies that illustrate the relevance of the concept of dimensions in different cultures and philosophical schools. These include examples from literature, art, and esoteric philosophies that offer creative representations of different dimensions and realities.
Summary and outlook.
To conclude the chapter, we summarize the central concepts of dimensions and prepare readers for the next chapter, which will further deepen the connection between science and spirituality, especially with regard to the integration of knowledge about dimensions into spiritual and metaphysical perspectives. We emphasize how understanding dimensions enriches our worldview and spiritualistic thinking. Chapter 9, Science and Spirituality, an Integrative Perspective. Introduction to the relationship between science and spirituality. In this section, we define what is meant by science and spirituality and examine the tensions and synergies that exist between these two fields. We emphasize how science and spirituality are different ways to deepen the understanding of reality and the human experience. The historical roots of science and spirituality. Here we take a look at the historical developments of both areas. We explore how knowledge and spirituality have been intertwined in different cultures and how this relationship has evolved throughout history, from ancient civilizations to the modern era of science. Science as a way to explore reality. We look at the methods of science, empirical research, experimentation, and theory building, and how they contribute to developing a deeper understanding of the physical world. Discussions about important scientific discoveries and their influence on our worldview are dealt with here. Spirituality as a path to self-knowledge and connectedness. In this section, we highlight the role of spirituality as a tool for personal transformation, understanding oneself, and seeking meaning. We discuss how spiritual practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and rituals can help expand our awareness and find a deeper connection to the world and other people. Similarities and differences. Here we explore the similarities and differences between science and spirituality by looking at aspects such as ethics, truth-seeking, and the definition of reality. We analyze how both areas can complement and benefit from each other to create a more complete picture of life. Interdisciplinary approaches. This section is dedicated to interdisciplinary approaches that encompass research fields such as science and religion or science and metaphysics. We show examples of how scientists, philosophers, and spiritualists work together to develop an integrative understanding of complex questions. The role of neuroscience in spirituality. Here we explore how neuroscience provides insights into human consciousness and spiritual experiences. We look at how studies of the brain and testimonies of transcendence, mysticism, and spirituality can help to gain a better understanding of the spiritual dimension of humanity. Case studies, scientific models, and spiritual practices. In this section, we present case studies that show how scientific knowledge and spiritual practices overlap. Examples could be the application of mindfulness in psychology, healing methods in complementary medicine, or the use of quantum mechanics in spiritual teachings. The future of the relationship between science and spirituality. We discuss the possible developments in the relationship between science and spirituality. What role could new scientific discoveries and technological advances play in humanity's spiritual understanding? This raises the question of whether science could be seen as a kind of spirituality in the future.
Summary and outlook.
At the end of the chapter, we summarize the most important findings about the connection between science and spirituality. We prepare readers for the next chapter, which will deal with the ethical implications of this integrative view. We emphasize the importance of continuing the dialogue between science and spirituality in order to promote a more comprehensive understanding of the human condition. Chapter 10: Ethical Implications and the Responsibility of Humanity. Introduction to Ethical Issues. In this chapter, we define ethics as a philosophical field of study that deals with the questions of right and wrong, good and evil, and the moral responsibility of the individual and society. We shed light on the importance of ethical considerations in science, spirituality, and human action.
Ethics in science.
Here we examine the ethical challenges that arise in scientific research. Topics such as animal experiments, genetic manipulation, the use of artificial intelligence, and the responsibility of scientists are covered. We emphasize the need for ethics committees and guidelines to ensure that scientific advances are in line with the well-being of society. Spirituality and ethical behavior. In this section, we'll explore how spiritual practices and beliefs can promote ethical principles. We discuss concepts such as compassion, empathy, and mindfulness, which are rooted in many spiritual traditions, and how these values can inspire ethical behavior in everyday life. The role of the individual in a globalized world. Here we analyze the responsibility of the individual in an increasingly globalized and interconnected world. We discuss how individual decisions guided by ethical considerations can have an impact on social justice, environmental protection, and the well-being of future generations. Collective responsibility and social ethics. This section discusses how societies as collectives have a responsibility that is shaped by shared values and ethical standards. We discuss the role of institutions, governments, and businesses in promoting ethical practices and ensuring accountability. Environmental ethics and sustainable development. We look at the ethical aspects of the interaction between humans and nature. Environmental ethics deals with the question of how we as humanity can preserve our planet and protect it from environmental damage. The importance of sustainable development is emphasized. The challenge of technological ethics. In this section, we explore the ethical issues that come with technological advancements. We discuss the impact of technologies such as artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and data privacy, and discuss how societal values can be taken into account in the development and implementation of such technologies. Ethical implications in values and belief systems. Here we shed light on how different belief systems and cultural values shape people's ethical beliefs and behavior. We discuss the influence of religion on ethical issues and the challenges arising from intercultural and interreligious dialogues. Case studies, ethical decisions, and their consequences. We present case studies that shed light on concrete ethical choices and their impact on individuals, communities, and the environment. These examples show how ethics is applied in practice and what challenges and dilemmas have to be solved in the process.
Summary and outlook.
At the end of this chapter, we summarize the core questions about the ethical implications and responsibility of humanity. We encourage readers to actively engage with the ethical dimensions of science, spirituality, and their own lives. The next chapter will bring a change of perspective on the future of humanity and the possibilities of transformation. Thank you for listening to Magic of Manifest. It was our pleasure to accompany you on this exciting journey in which we explore the power of manifestation and the connection between science and spirituality. If you like the audiobook, feel free to share it with your friends and family. Don't forget to like us and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content and in-depth insights into the fascinating topics surrounding the universe, consciousness, and spiritual evolution. Stay curious and open to the wonders that life has in store for you. We look forward to seeing you again next time. Thanks for listening and see you soon.